My name is Erik Bergman, and I'm one of the two founders of Catena Media. I've been involved with the M&A side of the affiliate business for the past 6-ish years, and it mainly starting out with me selling a big part of our own business to Optimize or Invest in 2012. So at that stage, I was very nervous. I didn't understand anything about the agreements. I was a bit paranoid, and I can definitely relate to the feeling that most affiliates have in this situation. And I believe that most of you have not sold a business before, so you're probably in a similar spot if you're planning on selling. Since then, I've been involved in about 20 different acquisitions, 25, together with Catena Media. And they all seem to have fairly similar issues. And I'm going to take this presentation and do it from a very basic perspective. This is more or less the hygiene factors that you need to keep in mind, and it's hard to take it very advanced in 30 minutes, but get this done and you will already be on top of the competition. Trust me. So, how to sell an affiliate business? Step 1, get your numbers in order. And this is something that's should be surprisingly simple, but surprisingly many people have not done this. So on a month-to-month basis, keep track of NRCs and NDCs, new depositing players and new registered players. Just check all the affiliate accounts, put it in there. Same thing goes for revenue and revenue share versus CPA. I'm gonna get back to why it's important to separate this, but make sure to separate them. And then we have costs. This is the boring part of things, and it's where I did one of the first mistakes in how I wanted to value something. Because if you're running a small affiliate business, you're unlikely to take a salary yourself. You're getting paid by dividends, or you don't really care about it. So you don't keep track of the salary costs, or you don't care about the salary costs. So when you're valuing the profit of the business, you look at it as if all the salary was profit as well. But as a buyer, you would always have to consider the cost for, well, putting someone in your place, because you're not going to stay there and work for free forever. So counting costs, add in an extra head for yourself, and trust me, you're worth a minimum of 5,000 euros, unless you're not good. So put in a minimum of 5,000 on your own cost, and put something together that just looks like this. Now this is hard to see on the screen, I realize, but it basically just says every month of the year, CPA revenue, fixed fees, revenue share, total revenue, costs, and profit. Have this prepared, regardless if you're planning to sell or not. It's very good to keep track of your own trend, and everything is about trend when you're trying to sell an affiliate business. And if you're planning on selling and you actually can put this forward on the first day, trust me, you're coming out ahead of most of the competitions. It's quite a simple thing. So other than that, we looked into the basic KPIs for SEO affiliates. SEO affiliates are the majority of the ones out there. It's the majority of the ones that we have acquired. And I know that quite a few are paranoid about using different Google tools, but install Google Analytics. Don't use Clicky, don't use StatCounter, don't be too paranoid, because if you're trying to sell this, a buyer would want to be able to compare the numbers of your site with the numbers of other sites. And Clicky and these guys, they calculate bounce rate differently, they calculate average time on site differently, so the numbers will not be comparable. And sure, there might be some theories that is true about Google being able to connect sites in between each other, but if you worry too much about that, install Google Analytics, never log into it until the day you're planning to come to sell it, and have the numbers there, because it's going to matter, especially if you're looking way back and you might want to sell 5 years from now. You will not be able to get that data then. So once you have that, the very basic KPIs that most people look at is organic visits, the counter split to get an idea where the traffic is coming from, the average time on site, and the bounce rate. So keep track of this yourself, trying to get these numbers looking good, and if you're planning on selling, just compile these numbers, send them over on as long time that you have going backwards, and that's pretty much what's needed to be able to see more. If you're feeling that you don't want to share access to Google Analytics, you don't want anyone looking into secret pages, at least share this. This is the bare minimum, and it should give a buyer a pretty decent idea what it is that you have on your hands. If you're running other media channels, same goes here. Keep track of the KPIs. Regardless if you're doing emails, apps, social, whatever, keep track, do a monthly check, put it in an Excel sheet. This number of downloads, this number of emails sent, this number of social interactions, whatever it is that you feel is important for your business, keep track of it on a monthly basis, because you might want to look back and see, okay, where did it go wrong? Why did we grow here? What happened there? And the buyer will always want to know this. And the more information you can provide to a buyer, the more confidence the buyer will feel and the higher price they're willing to pay. And at the end of the day, that's what you should be going for. Also include some general information. Keep an overview of your partners. Keep an overview of the ones you're working with, at least the most important ones. Have the deals ready so you don't need to look into this or ask every affiliate manager. Keep a list of your domains and keep it with a short explanation of what it is. If you're having 5 money sites, put that in there. If you're having 200 link sites, put them in there with a short explanation. And if you have a bunch of domains you're not using, put them in there and put a little ranking on them if you think that they're valued quite a lot. Because it's very hard for a buyer to get a big grip of your own business. And you might know it very well yourself, but coming from the outside, we knew nothing. So we need you to tell us, and I'm going to repeat myself a couple of times, but the more information we have, the more we will pay. Add a short description of the business, put in a little information of who is the owner, and if the owners, what's the relationship between them, how did it start. Doesn't need to be long, but half a page or something, but just to give a brief idea what it is that you're doing. This is the basic things you need to compile. This is something that I recommend anyone to do, regardless if you're planning on selling or not, because it's good for yourself, and the day that you want to sell it, it's very good to have it. So start with this, and out of the 25 deals we've done and the 100 businesses we looked at, it's a fraction of the ones that actually just have these things in order. So it's quite easy to impress. So step 2, understand the valuation. And this is something that's good for you guys to get an idea about, is it a good time to sell or not? Is my assets valued as I think they would be valued? And it's quite standard. So start by doing your research. There is quite a lot of deals going on out there. You can Google, you can find a lot of them. You can get a brief idea what have someone paid for something that's similar to what I do. You could ask around. You're in a gambling affiliate conference at the moment. The guy next to you probably knows something. A lot of people out there know something. So do your research. Don't just guess. Get a gut feeling and talk around. And what you'll probably find is that most of the deals that have been made have been sold for about somewhere between 2 and 6 times annual profit. This can be counted on run rates. So if you're growing a lot, it can be counted on the last 3 months going forward. You can come up higher than this, you can come out lower than this, but this is a pretty good idea where you might end up. And to get an idea then if you're in the top of the spectra or the end of the spectra or wherever you are, there's plenty of factors that weighs in. And the first one, and the by far most important one I would say, is growth. So if your business is growing, you're already on top of the side. But if you're decreasing, you're on the other side. Secondly is size. So the bigger your business is, the better it is, the higher multiple you will be able to get, simply because the risks are lower and it scales more. So if you're having a big business, great. Age of the business, this usually goes hand in hand with size and growth. If you've been growing for a long time, you're most likely a big business. But it also goes hand in hand with the trustworthiness of yourself and your willingness to work with this. The team you have, how much time are they willing to put in? The SEO risks, your Facebook groups or whatever. The longer you've had something, the lower the risk. And in such a rapid-paced business as this is, age is worth a lot more than you'd think. Revenue versus CPA. I mentioned this before, and basically it's, as a buyer, if you're buying a big database of revenue share, you know that it's going to profit you for a long time. If you're buying a big database of CPA, it's already been paid for. So this is something that's being weighed in a lot when you're trying to value an affiliate asset. So the more of your revenues that comes from revenue share, the higher the value will be, and vice versa for CPA. A devoted team. Most affiliate businesses don't have a team, but if you do, that's something that a buyer would be willing to pay for because it helps to sustain the business moving forward. It will make the transition easier, and hopefully they will keep building a great asset moving forward. The brand. There was a lot of discussions about the brand here before. I would say that most affiliates don't have a brand, shouldn't care much about the brand, just like Nick said. But if you do have one, it's definitely something that you will get paid for, and you should get paid for. Same goes for social interactions, which often goes hand in hand with brands. So if you have a site where people are integrating a lot and they're willing to come back to the site on a day-to-day basis, it provides that you did something good other than just manage to get on top of Google's algorithm. A well-defined business. And this is a place where quite a lot of affiliates fail. It's very easy to go off on a tangent and start exploring that opportunity and this opportunity. And the most common one, and the one that probably is a dream for quite a few of the affiliates out there, is that you start your own affiliate business, you run a lot of casino traffic, and then you start a white label. It's a dream to start a white label. I dreamed about starting a white label. But an issue when selling this is that a casino affiliate and a casino might look similar, but it's actually two very different things. And the people who want to buy a white label are most likely not the people who want to buy an affiliate business. This goes also for doing other things. If you're doing gambling and you're doing payday loans, no one's going to want to buy both. So this is something that makes it tricky to sell. And it's also make it tricky for you to create a great product. So think twice before you start exploring too many opportunities. Easily integrated. This goes hand in hand with the other one as well. And what I mean with easily integrated is that it should be easily to put into another business. So if you have built your own CMS system and no one understands this but yourself or your developer, it will be challenging to buy. If you have thousands of domains involved in your SEO link network and you are having them hosted in 200 different places, it's a nightmare for someone to understand. You know if it's easy or not when you look at it, and if you can keep it easy, that's something that you will get paid for. Regulated markets. There are a lot of talks about regulations. There's a lot of things happening. And just looking at Australia, likely to close down in less than 2 months from now. Obviously, if it's a regulated market, you will get higher pay for the traffic because a buyer would know what's going on. Same goes for where you are on the gray/blackish scale of the unregulated markets. If you're in the US or China or Turkey, you're likely to get less paid than if you're in Scandinavia. So keep this in mind when you're looking at your opportunities and how you should move forward. Something unique. If you're doing something that very few others are doing, you might be working with American football and no one else is doing that, or you might be the by far biggest affiliate in Czech Republic rather than doing, well, free spins in the UK as most others. This is also something that's worth paying a premium for. It doesn't necessarily work well combined with a well-defined business, so you might need to choose the one or the other, but I'm just trying to explain both sides of this and how it works. And the same here goes for the other way. More or less what I said, but the other side of things. If you decline, you will get less paid. Risk, less paid. The source of traffic matters. So if you're running advertising on porn sites or pop-unders or Pirate Bay or whatever you know that you can consider shady, it's less likely to get a high paycheck. The scattered business and unregulated markets. These are things that will take the price down. So what we know now is that we have a quite normal scale from 2 to 6 times the money. And we know what takes you to one way or the other way of the scale. So keeping this in mind, you should probably be able to do a quite easily mathematical exercise of getting an idea. How much is your business worth? And once again, if you're finding out something here that it feels like, okay, this is a good paycheck, then it's time to consider selling it. If you feel, I would not give it up for this, then don't give it up. Keep working. If you're far off here in one way or another, there's more or less no need to start talking to anyone, because you're just going to waste your own time and someone else's time. Okay, so we know the valuation, we know the business, we know most things around it. So the next step would be to gather up with consultants. You don't need money, but it's a good idea to start with getting a lawyer. And when you have a lawyer, keep in mind that a lawyer is more on your team than on the other guy's team, but he's mainly on his own team. So trust them, but don't pay too much attention to everything, because they actually earn money based on the hours they work. They get paid to find problems, and they get paid to look at the agreement over and over and over and over again. And you would consider them good if they find things that are an issue. So try and be pragmatic with them, try and understand them, and keep this in mind, that they are more real estate agents than they are your friends. Skip the middleman. This is also something that's easy to consider if you're going to sell something and you never did it before. Do I need an agent? Do I need some M&A expert that can help out? And I would say no. Out of all the deals that we have done, not a single one has included a middleman. We've been in a lot of negotiations with middlemen, but one way or another they tend to fall through. And paying someone for actually making something less likely to happen is probably not the best idea. And the reason why I think that most of them fall through is that it takes pace down from the actual transaction. It makes it harder to trust someone, because yeah, you can trust your M&A guy, but if you're not talking to these sellers, you will not get a feeling about if these are people that you would like to trust. And vice versa. It's harder for a buyer to trust a seller if they have to talk to an M&A guy all the time. If you still feel that you want to have someone next to you and discuss these things with, feel free. Get someone to talk to and hire someone, but try and not be the one that are behind him and he's doing the discussions. Be the one ahead. Do the talks. Might be uncomfortable. You might feel that you're smaller than someone or whatever, but do the talks and keep him as a supporter rather than the other way around. He can hopefully help out and discuss things, but don't let them run the show. It's not going to be a good idea for anyone, and you're going to end up paying 3 to 5% for something that didn't add any value. So once you get these things in order, and the next step would be to contact the buyers. If you didn't listen to my advice and you got the middleman, yeah, then that's their job. But if you did, it's quite easy to find them. So I would start with looking at the publicly listed companies. There's not that many. There's us, there's Excel Media, and there are 1 or 2 others. You know these guys are buying. It's easy to reach us. It's easy to find us. Next thing, again, talk around. You're here. There are people here who knows people. Ask them. All you need to do then is send an email with your short description, either to me in our business or to wherever, and you're likely to get it directed to where it needs to be, and it's likely that they'll get back. You don't need to include much, but give a brief idea what you're doing in SEO business or social media business, rough estimate of revenues to know if it's, so you're not wasting anyone's time, but it doesn't need to be more than that. And then sign an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. Basically says that you're not going to talk, they're not going to talk. Very standard, very common. We do it everywhere. Don't need to hassle a lot with it. And step 5, which is negotiations, and probably the hardest one to try and explain within a few minutes. So I'm not going to focus much about how to get the most money out of the deal, but rather how to get the deal actually done. So first and foremost, meet someone in person. Meet the person if possible. Yeah, and trust your gut feeling. Don't do this over email all the time. Try and get in touch with each other, get to know them, get a gut feeling. Ask people around them if they're good guys. There's a lot of information to find there, and try and trust yourself. Explain clearly what it is that you're looking for, and by this I don't mean say this is my price tag, take it or leave it, but explain how dedicated you are to this project moving forward. say that, yeah, I would like to stay on for 2 years, or say that, yeah, I would like to sell half the business but not all. I'd like this or that to happen. Don't leave this hanging, but let someone know, because we've done 20 plus deals. None of them have looked the same. Everyone's been different. And we've always tried to adjust this in the way that the seller have wanted. So it's always been our key focus. Because if they're happy, they will stay on, work more longer, it will be an easier transition, and hopefully whenever someone gives them the advice of talking around, they will say nice things about us. Ask, don't speculate. So let's say you got an agreement in place, you got it there, and you're trying to understand this. And I know from experience that agreements, that's scary shit. And when I started looking at that, when we were selling, I was like, oh, what does this clause mean? Oh, they're probably trying to scam me. And what does this clause mean? They probably want to take my money. It's usually not that way. And rather than sitting there and grinding the idea too much, which I did, pick up the phone, call them, ask, and hopefully they have a good explanation for the clause being there. And if they don't, hopefully they will take it out. But at least you're not trying to think of why it's there, because you're, more often than not, you're wrong. And be pragmatic. This goes back to the lawyers that I talked to before. Try and find the easy way of getting something done. It's usually a lot more hassle when needed than what is needed. And we are always trying to find an easy way where everyone's happy. And if that means 1% more this way or that way, or if it means a couple of thousand for this or that, don't fight it. Let it be a part of it. Let it be easy. Don't send an agreement back and forth for 2 months just because it's got the wrong punctuation. Be simple. And this pretty much sums it up. So it's very basic. Hopefully I've managed to teach someone something. And if you have these things in order, you know these things, you're in a very good spot already when it starts. If you're considering selling, or if you just have more questions about valuation, whatever, feel free to contact me. I'm easy to reach. I'm a nice guy, not as dangerous as I look. Yeah, feel free to take pictures of my contact details. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions?
Oh yeah, I'll bring across the mic to you now.
That means I can finally open the bottle.
Hello. How do you normally value affiliate business? Because sometimes it's tricky, to just get an idea what the value of the actual business is. Is there any, hints, steps you would do?
I mean, what we usually do is that we look at the revenues, we look at the numbers that we do here. We have quite advanced Excel sheets that we put these kind of numbers in by now and play around with. And then we're trying to find a number which sounds fair. We're usually adding up an earnout level on these as well to make sure that everyone gets. In that way, we share the risk of the next few years. Because if you're running SEO and something crashes, yeah, that sucks. And if you're running a business that grows a lot, you want to be paid for that. So we usually start with, okay, what's the number that they're making right now? Then we take this spin that I did before, and we end up somewhere on this scale. We look at the growth rate and trying to see the future. We're trying to see if that's what they want. And then we set up a bunch of targets that needs to be met over the next year or the next 2 years. And whether those are met or not, they'll trigger different payments. So it's very hard to give a more exact description than I did here. But doing this exercise takes you quite a long bit of how we do it.
Hi. You mentioned one of the points that you mentioned was that if there's a network of sites pointing to the affiliate site, you want to come down?
Did not realize it was a step.
That it could complicate things and make things a little bit more difficult for you to give a good price for the acquisition. A lot of the gaming and people in the niche of gaming and even forex trading and these kind of industries, a lot of them really do rely on private blog networks to get their rankings, because it's very, very difficult for them to get links from other places that have authority, because not a lot of people are willing to give out links to anyone to do with gaming. And So is that strictly any any affiliate site that has private blog networks pointing links to it, that they've got their own network of, or is there a way that is there like a structure that you guys, okay, cool, that's fair enough, I can.
One of those link networks is it's just about which end of the scale you're ending up. So it's more that it's not a clear no just because of that. But if you've managed to build your assets and you've done it without that, that's something worth paying a premium for. So it would be easier to integrate and it would be worth more money because it's likely to be lower risk and more sustainable. So it's not like it causes a big no from a potential buyer, but it's more likely they will pay more for an asset that doesn't rely on that, because it does both impact more risk and a bigger hassle of actually integrating it.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, not only would it influence where the affiliate site ranks, how well it appears on Google, but also, would you not consider that network of blogs, of those domains, an additional asset on top of the affiliate site itself? They'll add value to. So yeah, you know, this site has got value because it appears well, but there's also extra value because it comes with all of these blog assets, other sites that are also coming with this site as well. Some of which are pretty good domains.
Yes, depends on how well it's done. A link network could definitely be a great asset, but very few link networks, in my opinion, hold high enough quality to really be adding a premium. Because if we're talking about multipliers of 6, for example, that means they need to keep that same revenues for 6 years to actually get some money back. And if a link network is done really, really good, then that's no problem. But most link networks aren't. Most link networks do not have a small enough footprint to last for 6 years. So once again, it's about the scale. So if you have built a link network and it's done in a perfect manner and every site looks natural and the hosting is done perfectly and the owners are split in a perfect way, then you're fine. But very few are. So it's just to give an indication. If you're running a network and you want to try and think where it makes you in the scale, think about the quality of the network, and if you think it's a great asset and it actually makes sense that it will sustain for 6 years, you're probably right. If not, it's the other end.
Hi, this is Tez Gambacorta. Quick question. I've sold 4 affiliate sites and bought 2. How do you deal with the sites that have a very strong personality branding? Whether it's a pen name or not, but where the website and the products and the monetization funnel are built around a persona. How do you value that, and how do you deal with the transition as the person steps out of the business? Thank you.
We've only done one acquisition like that, and what we did then was we kept that persona staying on the business for about a year, and we gave him an apprentice. So they were working side by side for a significant amount of time to make sure that the persona kind of stayed the same. We actually explained that it was a new person, but for a long time they actually were writing both of them and they were sharing the name, and then it was a lot easier to phase the other guy out. If that was not an option, I would probably not buy something that's really tied to a persona unless it was very cheap, because this is a very big problem. And if you would do the similar exercise with like a fashion blog, you take it to the extreme. The persona is everything. You would never be able to buy a fashion blog and then run it as someone else. That's everything. They're loyal to the person. So depending how tied it is to the persona, that makes a big difference. But if possible, I would do it that way.
Hi there. Do you have any issues transferring, I'm thinking rev share here, transferring accounts over? Some companies in their T's and C's say that you cannot transfer tagged players, that kind of stuff, from one company to another. CPA obviously is not an issue, but...
We've ended up in a couple of discussions about it, and it is, as you say, in the terms and conditions, it's tend to say that you can't transfer it, but we've never had any issues worth mentioning about it. And part of it might be the size of our business. We're usually just adding a couple of extra % rather than changing everything. But it's never been a big problem. It's been some specific situations where it's been an issue, but nothing worth worrying about, at least for us.
Hello. What's the minimum value of a deal that you would consider?
Pardon?
What's the minimum value of a deal? I mean, is there a minimum profit that an affiliate business should have per month, or a number of depositing customers?
Yes. We would not look into businesses of a size smaller than 50,000 euros a month or something like that, because for us it's more hassle with integration than it is with anything else. If something would be really, really good and we really liked it one way or another, we might look into it anyway. But it's quite a long time since we did a deal smaller than that. But before then, we were looking down at smaller sizes as well. But for us, that's pretty much where the minimum is.
How would you value a PPC affiliate or a mailer who has SEO traffic plus PPC and mailers, things like that, which is a whole compact? There are multiple sources of revenue. So how would you value that?
It's complicated. It's more complicated. It puts you in a little disadvantage compared to someone who is pure with one way or another. But just looking at our own business, we have all of those channels ourselves. So it's not like we would never touch something like that, because we're doing it. And we're doing it at a quite large scale, all of them. So it would be, if that was the only factor on the scale, it would probably take you somewhere in the middle. Because if you're doing, let's say, only casino, but you're doing it with email, PPC, and SEO, it's a little bit harder for us to integrate, but it's not really a big deal, so it's not a deal breaker. But if you were doing casino SEO, insurance PPC, and email for something else, then it would be a much bigger issue. But at least you're staying in the same vertical, I hope. But yeah, so it's a slight disadvantage, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. I mean, nothing I put on the list is a deal breaker unless it's catastrophic, but it's just to explain the number of different things that we're looking into and why we're looking into them, more or less.